Oh, it is just so frustrating watching Man United. I don't know why I put myself through 90 minutes in these meaningless Premier League games, but it's just like, oh, please score. Even if we lose, please score. I just want to see the ball go in the back of the net because we can never score. And we finally did score. And look, it was absolutely coming. Look, 25 shots, 2.4 on XG to their 0.67. The goal was coming. We deserved the point out of that game. You know, Bournemouth got the red card. I'd say maybe we had a bit of luck with the Evan Nilsson red card, but we didn't because, let's be honest, Adams should have been sent off in the first half for the foul on Garnacho. Dorgu unfairly booked. Adams should have got a red, and Evan Nilsson's was arguably a yellow. You can see why it was given as a red. And some people are saying, "Oh, Bournemouth were robbed." Shut up. The referee was awful to us all game. The referee was atrocious. The referee was the equivalent of our front three in terms of a refereeing performance. Just poor. And we need to have a serious conversation about Man United and the lack of quality in the squad. I know Xerxes is injured, Ahmad's injured, obviously Rashford's on loan, Anthony's on loan. We've got nobody. I know that it's Finn. I know that Delo being injured was a bigger miss in the build-up. But the lack of quality in that was poor. Like, I'm glad we drew. I'm glad we didn't lose. I'm glad we got back in the game. They had 10 men, and it was so frustrating how we were struggling against 10 men. And I say struggling, Bournemouth were defending for their lives very well, making it difficult for us. But it was a game where definitely didn't deserve to lose, didn't lose, good. But it's frustrating when Liverpool are about to equal our 20 titles and we're battling to get a point versus 10 men Bournemouth. It's just the reality of, I think, the situation coming into, if I'm being totally honest. But before I talk about the game and some of the issues at the club and some of the positives and the standout performers, I want to talk quickly about the referee because Dorgu getting yellow for this is a disgrace. Dorgu wins the ball and is then fouled after he wins the ball. The player hurts himself fouling Dorgu, who won the ball, yet Dorgu gets booked for that. And it wasn't just this, but the amount of refereeing decisions today in 50-50s that did not go in were just atrocious. The referee was atrocious today. One of the worst displays I've ever seen. You know, I'm not saying we would have won the game if it wasn't for the ref. I'm not saying anything like that, but I'm saying the ref pretty much gave 90% of decisions Bournemouth's way. Because I can't sit here and understand how this is a yellow and this is a yellow. So player wins the ball and then gets kicked, but he gets booked. Player goes in dangerously with both feet lifted up and gets both a yellow card. If this is a yellow card, how is this a yellow card? I just, for me, this was a red card and this was a yellow card. If I was going to be honest, this is a blatant red card on Garnacho. Blatant red card. Garnacho could have been really hurt. If Garnacho was injured, we are screwed. Whether you like Garnacho or not, he's our most threat in the final third. You know, Ahmad and Xerxes are gone. Rashford's gone. Garnacho's the fourth best attacker. He's our current best attacker at the club because Bruno's a midfielder. For me, I'm glad, I guess, Evan Nilsson got sent off, but no, I'm not actually because I need the FPL points. Who knows? But, like, I mean, we're at a stage where I'm thinking more about my FPL points than points on the Premier League table because they mean nothing. I literally just care about the Europa League. I want us to score goals. I want us to look better. I want us to get more confidence. I want us to win games. Well, I really only give a crap about the Europa League right now. For me, this, I think it's, you know, I can see why it's a red, but I don't think this is anywhere near as bad as that. I just think some of the decisions today were worrying. Because I could have understood if this was a yellow. If this was given as a yellow and that was given as a red, whatever. But yeah, decisions were shocking today. And as Robbo said here, multiple penalty claims on Maguire's corners ignored. Every 50-50 went to Bournemouth because of the crowd. Blatant red missed on Adams. Red card given for slip from Evan Nilsson. Baffling yellow card on Dorgu. I mean, most of the decisions went against us, but look, Bournemouth will be annoyed with the Evan Nilsson red card. The referee had a poor performance, and it is just a terrible look for the Premier League because the level of refereeing in the Premier League has been atrocious this season. Well, let's talk about Manchester United 1, Bournemouth 1. My first thought is I would have really liked to see Harry Amas today. I thought Harry Amas was probably man of the match in the last game. And I felt that Dorgu struggled a little bit today, and I would have really liked to see Harry Amas. I thought Luke Shaw started a bit rusty, but grew into the game. You can tell Luke Shaw hasn't played in a while. And I actually thought Luke Shaw looked better at wing-back than a centre-back today. Weird opinion. Yeah, I think Casemiro looked a bit exhausted. I thought Maino had a good first half. But yeah, there wasn't loads. I think Garnacho was always the danger, but he's a little bit wasteful in the final third. But let's talk about it. Højlund saves it. Yeah, just about. So Hojlund finally scores and rescues a point for United. And in my last video, I was saying that, or last match reaction, I was saying that Højlund gets no luck. Højlund is not good, but it feels like he's the unluckiest striker in the world. He looks lost. Nothing's going to fall for him. It feels like nothing's going to go his way. So I'm really glad he scored and actually got a bit of luck, you know, with just the way that the ball landed and everything. Like, it's just good that it's come off Højlund and gone in the net. You know, I thought Højlund was pretty poor today. I thought he was out of it. I thought he looked lost. But you've got to give credit where credit is due. He stayed switched on, and I say he took his chance well. I don't know how much he knew about it, but he got that goal at the end. I think it was more of a relief than a celebration, just, at least we got a goal. And for me, I wanted Højlund to score more than anybody else on the pitch because I think he's definitely a confidence player. And if he went and scored 2 goals today, it would put him more likely to score in the Europa League with confidence. I'm hoping this goal just gives Højlund some confidence to finish the season stronger because before the goal, his lack of involvement was worrying. Obi came on within 30 seconds, found himself in a good area, got a chance. He also created a chance for himself in about the 90th minute. And I was about to say Højlund has done nothing where Obi's created 2 chances for himself. But luckily, Højlund was alert, in the right position at the right time in the end and got that luck. And hopefully, you know, that little boost will just give him a bit of confidence ahead of the Europa League game that he's got that goal. The overall performance was still worrying. I'm not going to lie. Like, I thought we were the better team, but I do think there was elements of that performance that are worrying. Of course, Bournemouth is statistically the best pressing team in the league, and we're one of the worst teams playing out from the back in the league statistically. So it was definitely a match that wasn't going to work the best. But even with the goal, I just felt we started all right first 20 minutes. They scored, dropped off, were pretty poor. Then they went down to 10 men, and we just threw it all at them, and we grew into it at the end. But I just felt it was uninspiring. You know, I like that we kept fighting to the end, you know, like we did in Europa, we kept fighting to the end. But it's just like, I got to about the 50th minute, and I'm just thinking, if I wasn't doing YouTube, would I be watching this? No, I'd probably be out enjoying the sun. You know, Bournemouth, their organisation with 10 men, the blocks. I didn't realise Bournemouth had 10 men until those last 5 minutes when we really, really gave everything. You just forget. I thought, you know, as I said, the first 20 minutes were okay, but I thought we lost control after conceding. You know, Garnacho had a good chance that Bruno created. We had some opportunities early on. But it was against a team who were down a man for 20 plus minutes, and we struggled. It was like the Lyon game, how for the first 20 minutes against a team with 10 men, we struggled. And then the last 5-10 minutes, something like we just gave it all and something switched on. And I'm glad that we got the goal, and we almost probably on another day could have won that. And I do think had you had Cunha and Delap starting instead of Garnacho and Højlund, I think we probably do win that game with the chances that were created. But, you know, there is a lack of quality in the final third, but it wasn't just about the final third. There was definitely other issues, but we'll talk about the final third. I think before the goal, Obi did show more. Before the goal, Obi was showing more danger than Højlund. I thought his movement was better. I think Garnacho was dangerous but wasteful. I like Garnacho, and this is how I describe Garnacho. If we had good attackers where we weren't relying on Garnacho to be a regular starter week in, week out, and he was 20, come off the bench, have impact, start some games, and, you know, we weren't reliant so much on him, I think Garnacho would be fantastic because we can deal with him missing chances. But if Garnacho misses his chances, it's not like we know that Højlund's going to score his chance or Mason Mount's going to score his chance, because they're not, and we don't know when the next chance will come. If we had a good team and Garnacho started some games, then came off the bench and was moulded in as a 20-year-old that was incredibly dangerous and gets in good areas and finds good chances for himself, it's so different. But because we're so reliant on Garnacho, because he is our best attacking threat, him missing those chances and missing 14 big chances this season is wasteful. If Garnacho had Bruno's ball striking, he'd be on 20 goals this season, and the perspective around Garnacho would be a lot better. If Garnacho could finish his dinner, he would make such a difference, because I think in terms of dribbling, in terms of getting in dangerous areas, in terms of directness and intensity, Garnacho brings the most threat in the final third, but it comes to his finishing and decision-making and final action that lets him down, which is obviously what players normally develop later in their careers. And I think because we're in a situation where Garnacho has to start every game, we're so reliant on him, we can't mould him in. You know, he's coming under a microscope for those mistakes that you're going to make as a young kid. And I think, you know, if we had Fergie, and this was the Fergie year where we had loads of good attackers, and Garnacho was, you know, 5th choice attacker that would sometimes come off the bench and be moulded in, and if he missed it was fine because other players would score. It's different. But with the position we're in, we need Garnacho to do better than what he's doing with the chances he gets, and he's not. And I think Cunha coming in is a sign they'd be willing to offload Garnacho. I like Garnacho. I still believe he'll be a top player. I think he's incredibly dangerous, and I think he's a bigger threat than Højlund. But, you know, I guess the Bruno chance wasn't the easiest one. I think Kepa made a good save, but I do think his ball striking lets him down. And I think the reason people on Garnacho's back a lot is because we're so reliant on him to score those chances, because we're not scoring anything at the moment. Whereas I think, you know, if we were a much better team and it's a more stable environment and we weren't so reliant on Garnacho, I think people would understand where he's at in his development and give him that time. Bruno put a world-class ball in. I don't think it was Bruno's best game. Don't think it was Mason Mount's best game. I thought, his movement was good off the ball and drawing out players, but I thought that he could have scored. He could have been sharper as well. I think Mason Mount has been 2-3 games now where he's had three good chances and should have maybe put the ball in the back of the net for one of them. What worried me was ball progression. I thought it was pretty poor. I think, playing out from the back, I think Bournemouth's press rattled us and we had no composure playing out from the back. Luke Shaw was rusty at times, but I did think Luke Shaw looked better when he moved to left wing back. I think our inability to build out from the back, our lack of wing backs doing their job in the final third, lack of ball progression in midfield, and lack of quality in final thirds what let us down. And I look at Man United, we need an attacking wing back. We need another centre back for depth that can play wide and can build out. We need a centre mid that can progress the ball. We need Cunha and we need a striker as the bare minimum this summer is what we need. As I said, referee lost control of the game. Even when Bournemouth had 10 men, they defended like they're in a cup final. And 50 plus blocks from Bournemouth in the final 20 minutes, it felt like. It was just so frustrating. It was a poor referee. It was a physical battle. We lost control in a lot of that game, and so did the referee. And it was just one of those games where, like, it wasn't awful. I'm not going to sit and rant about it. It's a bit of a meaningless game, but yeah, I wish we could see more from United. I think 1 point feels better than nothing, but we can't score enough goals, and we're struggling against energetic pressing sides, and that needs to change. Amorim now has 11 losses this season, which is worrying, and the fact that Liverpool are probably going to equal our title tally today is bad. I don't like it. But yeah, let's hope we can improve the finishing, the mentality, and the ball progression of this squad in the summer window. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.